Money talk. I'm going to take over.
There you are, Money Talks with Martin Campbell. Good afternoon. Welcome to Money Talks with Martin Campbell. How are you doing? I'm recording now, Martin. Thank you. Are you well?
Uh, I'm doing. I'm doing well, thank you. We're back again.
We're back again. No, it's great to meet you last time. That was fantastic. And it's interesting to talk today about. I'm in my business attire, my very official attire, to talk about the very, very serious business of money. So I was interested to know.
You're putting me to shame.
Got to make an effort. I feel I'm on the news, to be honest. Uh,
Yeah, looking
so,
good.
so I want to really have an idea of talking about money. Obviously, you've started a business, which to as a business as a. Sorry, you tell me a little bit about what you're doing. Yeah, please.
Okay, so effectively, my role, what I'm trying to do is help people make more effective use of the money that they have, building that confidence to know what to do with it, and so ultimately you can just get on and worry as little as possible about money and have it in the right places without worrying about it, and go and live the lifestyle that you want to live and trying to plan for the future type thing. So. I mean, in terms of the reason that I've ended up going down this route, it probably makes a little bit more sense if I go back to
Please.
my days as an athlete, and then I guess, well, I went to university down at Loughborough, like I might have mentioned last time. So I studied maths and management down there. So I was always quite analytical or numbersy, if you like, and liked the business side of things. So it was always something that I wanted to do following sport. And I think, like a lot of businesses, how they start is they've had a problem themselves. They've had curiosity in something. And as an athlete, when you're playing full time, it was never something that was really discussed. It was never something that, in terms of what to do with your money, how to manage it, how to plan for the future, have it in the right places. And it was something that I was always interested in, but you'll probably know yourself, like it's quite a complex area. And if you try and Google anything, you could be there for days, and it's quite hard to figure out what's truth and cut through all the noise.
Yeah.
So once I stopped playing, it was something that I was really interested in finding more about, and that's quite kind of why I went down the finance route. And then as soon as I started to learn more about the personal finance side of it, as opposed to maybe corporate side, that really sparked my interest, and it was something that I wanted to learn more. And when I got the opportunity to get all my exams, become fully qualified, even though after uni I vowed that I would never do an exam. I think I did 30 during my university career because maths is just so many exams, but I ended up going down that route again, needs must, I guess, and became fully qualified, and then managed to start my own business, which has been just over, just maybe under a year and a half now since starting. So maybe 6 months in real life where we went in lockdown, and then a virtual business over the last year. So it's certainly had its challenges, but it's been extremely. I've really enjoyed it.
And how have you found it? It's such a, I don't know if you know the word, emotive subject, where so it's just something that people have just are funny about. It's always a contentious thing, isn't it? People talking about money and what's your? I mean, I guess from your experience, obviously, I imagine money in badminton with competition prizes and things comes in fits and spurts, right?
Yeah. So just going back on what you're saying about how money's been super emotive, and it definitely is. And there's a stat that goes around, or a common. The research has shown that parents that you might find interesting, parents would rather speak to their kids about sex as opposed to speaking to them about money, which is pretty fascinating. And I can imagine it being true as well. It is something that people hold their cards to their chest. They don't really speak to, or don't open up about it. And I think that's half the problem, because people don't go and speak to someone about it. So they don't go and get that help or seek that support. And hopefully that's what
Yeah.
will, and try and help out people who are in that situation. And then going back to, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Oh, sorry, have you lost me?
Yeah, sorry, just it was
I
the
say, yeah.
circle was going.
Sorry.
But
Yeah.
going back to what you were saying around it coming in sort of sporadic moments in terms of what your earnings are like, just from my perspective, I know a lot of people will have different experiences and different journeys as an athlete, but you do a lot of it does come in just like chunks. It's not a smooth earning schedule, if you like a normal career where you'll get a monthly payday, which most people have just had, and then it just comes in and out like that. Whereas as an athlete, a lot of it comes from club money being the main one. So if you're not playing in clubs over in Denmark, France, Germany, all the different countries, then you're not earning. So if you're injured, so it's a tough balance of
Yeah.
wanting to play, but also looking at the longer term as well. And then also obviously prize money, that type of thing. So it comes and goes quite a lot, but it's difficult to plan for. But I guess that always made you really as because you knew you were getting X amount of funding, say for example, for a tournament program, and it did make sure that you did plan for it. It wasn't about just right, I'll pick that tournament or that's half my tournament budget gone. So you really did have to be meticulous
So was that,
about where
can I
you're
ask,
putting your money.
Martin, can I ask, was that just you, or do you think that was common of all the players? Were you quite, I mean, you're obviously quite a switched on guy, quite mature. I think there's quite a lot of
Appreciate
immaturity.
that.
I think there's quite a lot of immaturity purely because I was thinking about this, that there's a lot of players that they've just gone and they've left school and they've just played and played and played and played and played and it is like a little bit of a child thing. It's quite I was even watching Carolina Marin, and she was played from such a young age, and all she saw was badminton, right? So actually, when you watch it, she's actually quite immature in her thinking. Is that? Do you
I
think a
like you
lot of
say that
people?
instead of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can, yeah.
Yeah,
So do you think there's a lot of do you think there's a lot of that? I mean, I think when I say they're mature, I guess I'm talking about, you know, I guess it's a kind of a. I once heard a statistic about the Conservatives. Somebody once said the Conservatives they've always had money and they know what to do with it. Conservatives they come from wealthy backgrounds and they've always had money, and that when they get it, they know what to do with it. Where they always said that without getting political, but without other
yeah,
parties,
let's not go down that route.
fight and flight. No, no, do I. So when fight and what I mean is when somebody gets a lot of money, they think, oh, look what I can get, and they go and buy X. Does that happen? Do you know that?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a stat that goes around in like it's more predominant in they did a lot of research in America
Hmm.
with the NFL, NBA, and there was a stat that was saying within I think it was within 3 years of retiring from the NBA, 60% of athletes are broke or declared bankruptcy. And these are guys that are bringing in millions on like £1 million contracts. But equally, it's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep and how smart you are with it. And a lot of those guys as well will have people pulling from them as well in terms of family, friends, and they'll end up just spending and spending and spending. And they're used to that lifestyle as well. So not so much in badminton, but they're used to living the high life. And I think you retire early when you're an athlete and all of a sudden you've not got that same income
That's
coming
what I
in.
think. Hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of guys find it difficult, and it is they'll never replicate the earnings that they had. Well, it's unlikely that they'll replicate the same sort of earnings as they did have as an athlete, which is it's an interesting. It's I guess the same with guys that win the lottery. A lot of them within 3 years are broke and they've spent it all just because they've never known how to manage it. So I guess going back to what you're saying, it's why the rich get richer and because they know how to deal with it and they make that money work. They make it keep growing. Whereas someone who's perhaps not been from money will end up just spending it and it's not about not spending it because at the end of the day, money's there to be spent. It's there to add value to your life but it's about spending on the things that do add value and not about wasting it and it's about looking at the future as well to keep some of it earning for
I think
that
the
later life,
difficulty
I
as
guess.
well. I think the difficulty as well is when somebody's used to living a life where they've had nothing, and then all of a sudden they get, They see
Absolutely.
themselves living hand to mouth, and oh God, oh God, oh God, and then eventually money comes, and you just go, oh wow, and just go mental, and before you know it, it goes, and inevitably, I don't know about you, but inevitably, I'm in sales, so my income does that, right? So
Just happen.
if I know next month I'm going to have a really good month, normally, what happens is in advance of next month, right? I get my credit card out and I'll say, I'll
Yeah.
just get it put on the credit card because I've got a good commission coming next month. And then
Yeah.
before you know it, by the end of next month, the money that I've eventually end up spending it twice quite a lot of
Yeah.
times, I guess. And,
Because
and it's a
it's,
pressure high on money. I was thinking about, I was thinking about sales again. Sorry, go back to sales, but I was thinking about sales. Now, what happens in sales is if you stop selling, yeah, we're heavily paid on commission, right? So if
yeah.
you're not selling, you're not making commission, right? And you're under pressure. And the
Yeah.
longer you go with not selling, right, the more pressure you get. And then the more pressure you get, the worse you do. And it's that vicious circle. Do you think that happens in sport where people are so financially pressured that actually affects their sport?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that that'll come into play with, like you're saying, it's a vicious cycle because people need to know that they're covering their essential expenditure. That these guys they'll have rent to pay, the exact same bills as everyone else, but they won't have that same stability. I mean, don't get me wrong, the top guys will be on big contracts that they've got that guaranteed income, which they deserve and it should be more. But for most of definitely badminton, it is more about making club money. You go to tournaments for making tournament money, trying to source some funding. So a lot of it's on your hands as well to go out there, and because no one's going to come to you unless you're really producing top results, like getting some sponsors on board. So you are conscious of it. I think as you get older, you try and increase the amount of stability you have through the year. So just from my own perspective, when I went and started to play in Germany, I was always on like a day rate or whatever, a match rate for every match went over, and then bonus if you're winning your matches. And I think once you build up a bit of credibility and experience playing club matches and they know what they're getting from you, you can start to bring in, well, actually, I'd rather have this monthly wage and then less commission type, if you want to put it like that,
Yeah.
less bonus money to try and have a bit of stability.
Wow.
But it doesn't always work like that. So I guess you've got to look at it as a motivator. But yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes it can be difficult. And I think a lot of badminton players have been fortunate that their parents they've had good support systems. I know from my own perspective, like when I was in the early days, my parents were super supportive in it, and it would have been difficult to really push and play the tournaments that even going back to junior, if I didn't have that financial support.
Yeah.
And then hopefully one day you can stand on your own 2 feet and your parents are happy that they're no longer footing the
Yeah, I
bill.
think so. I think undeniably very proud and wouldn't take anything back ever. But I mean, you're obviously very switched on, but I wonder how many parents are concerned that when it's over, what you're going to do next, kind of thing, and how many of those conversations happen. Right?
Yeah, I mean, so just talking from that, my own perspective, when I stopped playing, I there's various support systems out there in terms of with the Institute of Sport, they have lifestyle advisors, like performance coaches that do help you talk through that process because it is huge. Like you go from playing a sport you absolutely love, being with your friends, traveling the world, to all of a sudden you don't know what you want to do. You've done something that you've been passionate about and you want to find that same thing. You don't want to just do something for the sake of it after you've experienced that type of life. So it is difficult. And I remember looking at the jobs boards straight after and just being so uninspired and just thinking, none of this is jumping out at me. And I want to do something that I care about.
Inspired by, yeah.
And yeah, and I think that if I can say one bit of advice for people going through that is to reach out because people are there to help. Even myself, like from my perspective, I reached out to some of the guys that were retired 2, 3, 4 years before me that I trained with like Jelly Cooper, Emma Mason, those types of people that have gone on to do really well in business after. And so reach out to those people and speak to them. And what a lot of they said was you need to go out and try things and go and speak to other people. You do have this wide network of support system,
Yeah.
take advantage of it. And I think we're getting better now. There's more and more companies. So this is where I'll do a plug for my good friend Kieran Merrilees, who is now involved with a company called Life After Professional Sports, so LAPS.
Brilliant.
And what they do is they help sort of collaborate athletes with businesses that are looking to employ athletes for their skill sets that they want to, they see the value in bringing in athletes into their companies. So that's what Kieran does. He works with companies to try and place athletes that have been in the same position, because I guess he's been in that exact same position. So he better thank me for that nice little plug for him.
I'm
But
interviewing Kieran on Monday night. Monday night, I think it's Monday or
oh, have you got
Tuesday.
him on?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's on
yeah.
Monday or
So
Tuesday. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure he'll talk about it. But I mean, that's great because that's what you need. Sometimes you can feel like you're all alone and you just
Huge.
have to do it yourself. But when you do have that type of support and it's out there, use it.
Yeah, I was actually talking on Thursday to the head of sponsorship for the Danish badminton. Who is it?
The
The guy?
cookie company.
No, it's not Danish. It's not Denisa. No, it's a guy. It's a private agency that they contract. A guy called Jesper, and
Okay.
he's got an agency of he has 5 members of staff who pair commercial businesses with players in various different pursuits. So obviously badminton's big, but not quite as big apparently at the moment. But he's so talking to Immature. I'm having an interview with him about the differences between Danish commercial side and Danish in the UK, and I think it's become more difficult in Denmark. I think from what he's saying, and but he's just I was just interested in the guy. I know the company that sponsor Callum Smith, who's
Okay,
a
yeah.
small firm, a stone business in the Borders, called Sandy
Yeah.
McLean and Co. So we plug for them. They sponsor Callum, and I think they're on his t-shirts kind of thing. And I'm interested in finding out who, if there are agencies of similar type in the UK, that anybody that do you know of that happening? Do you know of people that find, is it a player's responsibility to find their own sponsors? Is it the parents of the players, which I think is the case with Callum?
I
Yeah,
wouldn't say it's the parents' responsibility. At the end of the
no,
day, it's well, when you get to a certain age, you've got to go out and source that, and it's also really good practice for, like, I remember negotiating for your contract for your club money and stuff like that. So it is good skills that you're
yeah,
learning
it's good.
for when you go into future careers. But I think it's on you as a player. I know Kirsty's, if you ever have her on, she's very good at that side of things, and I think she's got a few partnerships, and I think she might be working with a media company. I'm not sure if I'm 100% correct in this,
Yeah,
but working with a media company to build her brand, because
yeah,
at the end of the day, she is a brand,
that's
and
it.
as a player, you're a brand, and they're looking at, do you fit with their values and their characteristics that they want to promote into the world that'll help their business and have that alignment. So I would say it's more on you to reach out, and I think nowadays with social media, if I was in that same position, you'd be direct messaging them on Instagram, Facebook. Like, it's a lot easier to contact these companies now rather than like I remember cold emailing, and it just didn't. It's a tough gig
So
to.
is that part of your thing? Did somebody advise you to do that, to find out? What I suggest you do is send the messages to businesses that you know, la la la, that kind of thing.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure anyone in particular. Maybe my mom and dad were always switched on with that type of thing, and I think I was always aware of it. And the things that I listened to on podcasts, YouTube, I was always into business. So I would follow some guys that work with probably the American athletes, and they would always talk about these types of things. So a little bit of common sense and so I worked with Gannon Sports, were a massive sport and help for me. So we plug for them when I was playing. And yeah, you've just got to go out, and it is difficult. Like it is hard to, especially in this climate. I mean, it's going to be
Sure,
more and more difficult
sure.
going forward.
So going, so if I on a, just to, I guess we've been on for a while. Just to, and how long has that been actually? Um, I'm interested for 20 minutes. So I'm just interested. Oh, we're okay. I'm just interested in what would your advice be to a current, I guess, at what age do you think it becomes a problem where you think, yeah, what age are you when you have to start thinking? I know you're going to say from like 19 or something, but realistically, what, as a badminton player, like a professional or somebody that's making money from it, that can see the kind of the it coming in the distance, and how does somebody start? Does somebody need to think, oh, I need thousands to put in, or what would your advice be on that front?
Yeah, so I mean, I had that exact same perception probably when I was an athlete that you needed to have X amount of money to go even initially speak to someone. They won't speak to you unless you have that. But you need to start somewhere. Like it's the same as in sport. You can't just go straight to the top. You need to put in the groundwork from the start. So I am gonna say exactly what you thought I would say, and it's about the earlier you start, no matter what that amount is, the better you're going to be in the long run. Just because I won't bore you with all the details, but the compounding effect of it and just making a start can make a huge difference in the
So
long
do you
run.
think? So do you think probably it would probably have a positive effect on a player's performance to have financial comfort for the future? In their own mind. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, half the battle is when even just when I'm working with someone is the peace of mind side of things. It's the non-financial benefit. It's the having that confidence and the security that you know you're at least doing something for the future and that you're building alongside. Because it's the main stress of most people. That it is money. It's something that people constantly think about, but will know they won't go and seek advice or go and ask for support. But it's there, it's out there, whether you speak to myself or I speak to someone else, at least reach out to someone. And the earlier the better, even if it's not about starting to put away money because you're in the early stages of your career. It can be about the other things, just about planning in terms of what's coming in, what's going out, and just so you get a better frame of mind and mindset around it, and you've got a more positive relationship with money so that when it comes later down the line when you're like, well, you know what, I'm starting to do quite well, let's look at doing something with it. It builds in those foundations.
Well, the thing I like about it, particularly for myself, is it's probably particularly for athletes is about is empathy, I suppose. I think if they come and have a conversation with you, they know you've been through it. There's a multitude of financial advisors out there in various different pursuits, but somebody that's been a professional athlete that's lived off it, that knows it, and obviously it's all confidential what you talk about between you as well. So that's a key thing, isn't it? But I think, like I say, from any athlete that knows what you've been through, that you've made money if you've lived on it, and then you've obviously got your head switched on sensible wise. It's no, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think like what you're saying there, I've been fortunate in that a lot of the guys that I've started working with from Badminton, which has been great, and it's been well received because I think, like you're saying, that I've been in that exact same journey. I know what it's like, comes in and goes at different times, and what the best things are to do for an athlete because I've lived it, and I feel fortunate that people have put faith in myself and their trust in me, and because I know if I was in their same position, that I would be in a better position now than if someone had spoken to me earlier on in my career and if I'd reached out to someone. So if I can help just put the plans in place earlier on, or just have that initial chat, then I'm delighted to.
I think that one of the critical things probably in the perception of money is and investment is it's an old person thing because most people,
Yeah.
if you
It's a
think
suit
about
and tie thing,
it's a suit and tie thing that's made me like that.
like yourself.
Oh, yeah, like me, yeah. So most old people like me, when they think about investment and they think about, frankly, they think about pension. When
Yeah,
somebody thinks about retirement, when they think about investment, they think of pension. They don't think about 30, They don't think about 35. They don't think about 40. They think in their mind, I genuinely believe this. I might be wrong, but I think when people think they're going to put money into something, they can't get it out of it until they're 60.
Mm.
I reckon that's probably a very, very common perception. And what would you say to that? I mean, I guess it's not like that. I understand. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember vividly one time when we were younger and we were playing, and one of the guys had said, "Oh, their parent had been like, you need to start thinking about a pension." And I admittedly would have been that guy that just like, what? Like, we've got plenty of time for that. But that's just because I was uneducated in it. I didn't have the right information to actually know what that means. It is literally just a very tax efficient investment wrapper for growing your money quickly over a long period of time. So
But
because I didn't,
it doesn't. I think the key thing I was trying to say, Martin, is it doesn't need to be that long a period of time. Effectively, a pension age for an athlete is about 35. Is that a fair comment?
I don't know if that's quite a fair comment. So normally it's 55
Yes.
for pensions, and well, it's going to increase to 57. Just to sort of let
I'm
people know.
talking about, no, I'm not talking about pension. Sorry, I shouldn't, maybe I used that term wrongly.
So you mean,
I'm talking about releasing money. You know, your
yeah, I mean, it can
perception
be
is
a
releasing money till you're 60 and you're thinking you're
no.
20, you know.
Yeah, so a lot of the work will be with, so most people have heard of like an ISA or something. So you can access that at any point, but when you're looking at an investment time horizon, you've got to be looking more 5 years plus. So it isn't about your money is going to be locked away until you're retired type thing. So I think that's what you might have been
That's
getting
what I
at.
meant.
So a lot of the time it can be about, right, you're 25, you might retire, you might look to retire from badminton, early 30s. Let's look at building up a pot so that when you transition from playing to your next career, you've got a bit of time. You don't have to worry about getting a job straight away, and you might get into something quickly just because you've got that need for money. Whereas if you've got some set aside that's working for you over the time through your career, at least it gives you that, I guess, going back to your peace of mind, it gives you a bit of confidence and security that you know you've got something rather than I need to do something straight away. And I think that's half the problem because people are living, say, paycheck to paycheck type thing that they feel like they have to go into something as opposed to going into something that they actually enjoy and take a bit of time over it. So yeah, like you're saying.
That's fantastic. Martin, that's awesome. Thank you. And so on the one last thing, and if people want to get in touch with you, Martin, how do they do that?
Just give the old social pages a follow, a direct message, or most people, you'll be able to find my number off someone. Google, it's everywhere.
Good stuff. Okay, thank you for your time. Cheers, Martin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Good
Martin.
luck. Thank you. You still
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's okay. I just
Have you
stopped.
stopped
That was
recording?
good.